Aaron says, if there are more lands outside the Antarctic area, how far does the dome go? Do we have any reports? 1958 encyclopedias seem to nail the height at certain points, but is that reliable? Yeah, that's a good question. Is there more than one dome? That's actually a great question. That's a fantastic question. Let's see what kind of maps we can come up with here. That's a really, I mean, that one got me thinking. I'm not sure anybody asked that before. Relative to the dome. Alright, hold on. Let me play this video. I think it's going to go over the moon reflection. So, yeah. How big would the dome have to be? Yeah, there's definitely an issue with proportion, because if this circle, if this blue circle is the dome, that doesn't make any sense, because it's the lands outside the dome. Huh. Yeah, that's curious. Yeah, let me look at another map here. Again, I do not claim anything is true or untrue. So actually, here is, what is this? New York Journal newspaper, wall of ice. So the wall of ice is not the dome. So the dome would be going far beyond that, theoretically. What if the dome isn't necessarily physical? Could the dome be ever expanding or changing, or are there many worlds? See, in this Terra Infinita map, it states 178 worlds under the Great Dome. But see, the dome would have to be so ginormous for this to work. So I don't know if this makes sense. Yeah, that's tough. Here's another one. It's an interesting one. What's the source of this one? This is a really interesting one, because look how uneven Antarctica would be. If Antarctica is this ice wall, and then you have other stuff. I mean, look at the stuff here. So you have basic Antarctica here, but it's thin. Yeah, look how thin it is on this side. But then you have all this land here, and then also this. Curious. Let's see if there's another map here. Here's allegedly the first televised picture from space on April Fool's. It's an interesting day. That's an interesting photo too. See, if there is a dome, would that cause this kind of curved look? Because if the dome is black, see, this is what nobody's talking about. I mean, look how it could fit, theoretically, onto this map. If the dome encircles the Earth and you can't see through the dome, it would appear black. Would that give a curvature effect? I don't know if anybody's ever talked about that before. Has anybody discussed what it would look like if there is a dome? I'm not claiming there is, but if there is and it blocks light, would it not make it look like a circle on everything within the dome, regardless of the shape of the Earth? Justin says, I personally think our firmament is an electromagnetic field of a toroid. What's beyond the field? Or is all of land only within that field? Les Xylophone says, sup shockers, not flat earth related, but everything good with YouTube, Bruce. Not really. They've basically, yeah, even if you search a MINDSHOCK video, it's not going to come up. So they've basically, I don't know what they're doing with the algo, but yeah, they've basically deprioritized. I mean, they've been doing that for a long time, but something weird's been going on their latest update. Basically, nobody can find any of the videos. The older videos don't get any views anymore, whereas even a few months ago, they would still get a lot of views. Not a lot, but there'd still be continual slow views on all videos. So yeah, a lot of weird stuff on whatever their latest update was. It seems like every update, everything gets worse with YouTube. The best incarnation of YouTube was probably over a decade ago, where it would just be an organic search. You search something, it comes up. It's not that difficult. And then everything got changed up. Aaron says, that image is not real. It shows too much. Can't get that high. Are you insinuating an April 1st image is not true? How dare you? Les Xylophone says, they hide your content and I'm subbed. Yeah, it's a problem. Monty says, algorithm's another word for indoctrination. Well, when they're manipulated so severely. But no, does anybody have an answer for the dome in Aaron's question? The dome in relation to other land? Because that is a really curious one for sure. I really don't know what to think about that. So here's this map from a Japanese temple, allegedly. And so, what are these circles here in the middle? So is this outer circle? Is that just the ice wall? But then how far does the dome go? It's just, yeah. It's curious. It's definitely curious. Here's another interesting one. What is this? Is this... Actually, yeah, I went over some of these before. They're quite interesting. Let me see here. So there's this one. Walls of Asgard. Wastelands. Yeah, it looks like some kind of fictional map, but, or I don't know if this is based. So we got Atlantis here. Is this somewhat based on Norse mythology, perhaps? And then there's also this one, which is a really interesting one. And I actually mentioned this in terms of Atlantis. Because Plato described Atlantis in terms of concentric circles. So if Atlantis wasn't one specific place, but just a word to describe the entire realm per se. So these concentric rings, are we on the inner concentric ring? Like this particular map shows. So you could see our familiar continents here. I wish this was more high res. I mean, you got a forbidden channel here. Is that Lemuria? Some of these other outer lands, Mu. Like, all based supposedly in mythology. But again, the ancients were just describing their history. Our so-called modern scholars labeled it mythology. But, yeah, it's quite interesting. Flat Bob says, I think that's all garb. Flat Bob says, I'm not convinced that there is a dome. Well, you know what else nobody's talking about? What if the dome is some kind of energy field that can be turned on and off? Like, if you're overseeing a realm and you want to restrict access, I mean, what would be the easiest way to do that? Some kind of energy dome? I don't know. Lord Zed says, to be clear, the rule was 30 pierces in 40 days. So although I fell behind, I can watch 6 pieces in one day and still make it. Yeah, I'm not making that Pierce Brosnan challenge that Lord Zed laid down. Yeah, I was pretty bad. I think I only watched one. I kind of organized some of them, and I was ready to watch more Pierce Brosnan movies, but didn't get to it. Things have been busy. Dr. Bass Ackwards says the fake moon landing and the fake ISS are likely mankind's most embarrassing achievements. Monty says, as far as the dome, I think it exists simply because we have pressure here. Lord Zed says, what a coincidence. I was just thinking this morning, it's funny, they say space goes on forever. New Jerusalem. Aaron says, made a comment in New Jerusalem. Let me see. I don't see the comment. I do not see any comment about New Jerusalem. Oh, there it is. The Christian Bible says the New Jerusalem is something like 300 miles on a side, including height, with Jesus at the pinnacle, possibly pyramid. Maybe it will be the port for coming and going to other worlds. New Jerusalem. Yeah, that's another rabbit hole on where exactly it was. Some people actually believe it was in Utah, the land of Judah, in the United States. Flat Bob says, I think it's closer to 12 to 1,500 miles. Lord Zed says, it's just funny how they are like, there's no end, just don't worry about it, we checked it out, definitely goes on forever. Well, don't they also say the universe is constantly expanding and contracting, but it's also infinite? I don't know. Aaron says, New Jerusalem is yet to come. How does that tie in with Satan's little season, though? And are we also living past the return of Jesus and the events described in the Bible? And if everything is just kind of cyclical, then it just happens over and over again. Flat Bob says, you should look into Leaving Babylon on YouTube. She goes into the land of Jesus between U.S. and Russia. Leaving Babylon here, yeah. Let me check this channel out. I'm not did I look at this channel before? I may have if somebody else brought it up before. Yeah, let me put this video up. We could talk about it a little bit. Chin Chin says, yeah, Leaving Babylon has some great stuff, comparing the old maps of the Straits to the modern GPS maps. Monty says, it's expanding, but matter and energy are constant. Aaron says, my lunch break thinks we are in the period called the Little Season in Revelation when Satan is released from his chains. It's pretty evil. Dr. Bass Ackward says, funny how all the advancement in tech hasn't helped us achieve anything in space. Flat Bob says, yeah, is it portion or potion of old maps have the land of Jesus that nobody talks about? Okay, this, I haven't heard of this. This sounds quite mind-shocking. I want to get into this. Little bit of lag here, but I want to get this video up. Justin Johnson says, I also subscribe to Satan's Little Season. Aaron says, if MLB is right, then we probably are not far from the new earth with New Jerusalem. What does not far mean in the scope of biblical text, though? Does that mean like years, decades, centuries, millennia, relative to other? Like, how many millennia have come and gone on this realm? It's a wild question, because obviously history's been manipulated, but what? How far back does it actually go? Millions? Billions? And are a lot of the events mostly talking about this specific circle of our realm and not other circles? Like, for example, if we're looking here, like the if we're looking at the moon map, for example, if it's true that this, however you want to call it, the circle of the sun moves over different lands. So these frozen lands will become unfrozen, and our circle, our continents are on our inside circle will become frozen because the sun will have a different path, and it will unfreeze the currently frozen lands. And then it just goes on forever. So have countless millions of years gone on in this place? And as the sun just constantly changes where it rotates? I don't know exactly what this is referring to here. Are these the circles the sun makes? The sun and possibly the moon. But if the moon is new, I mean, I've gone over that before as well, where certain peoples have talked about the time before the moon. So that's another rabbit hole for anybody that hasn't gone down that one.